There's nothing better than a weekend trip to the park, and even better if you can add world-class race cars and drivers. This weekend for IndyCar and Indy NXT by Firestone, the setting is Barber Motorsports Park near Birmingham, Alabama, with its rolling hills, perfect landscaping, unique architecture, and wonderful museum. It's the INDY NXT by Firestone Grand Prix of Alabama. NBC Sports and Peacock welcome you to one of the great facilities. You like golf? This has a golf field not too far away from Augusta National, and we have perfect weather for you today. A little overnight rain, but temperatures are cooler than they have been all weekend, around 70 degrees for the day, and we are not expecting any concerns for the weather. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kevin Lee, along with Charlie Kimball, who finished second in this series previously and had a fourth-place finish in his IndyCar starts. Let's talk first about the track and the challenge for the drivers.
It's an incredible facility, as you touched on. The racetrack itself is challenging. Everything from heavy braking into the hairpin of Turn 5, the high-speed corners through 12, 13, over the crest into 16, 17. It really presents these Indy NXT drivers with a challenge from start of the lap all the way through to the finish.
And it is the biggest field we have ever seen in this series before. Just a few moments ago, Georgia Henneberry caught up with the front row starters.
Christian Rasmussen and Nolan Siegel will start on the front row for today's Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix of Alabama. And Christian, regardless of what happens today, yesterday you set a new track record here at Barber Motorsports Park. So your name etched into the history books already. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it means a lot. Obviously, it means, I think, a little less when 13 drivers kind of beat the track record. But the Firestone tires makes it easy. It makes us look good. So we'll just, continue the streak today.
That is your pole sitter, Christian Rasmussen, and Nolan Siegel starting second. And Nolan, you have a win here already in the USF Pro 2000 division. Do you feel like any of that experience translates today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's still an open-wheel car around the same track, so definitely I'm going to be at a slight advantage, I think, having that experience, you know, leading a whole race here and coming away with a win. So I think it's already translated, you know, starting on the front row, so I think we're in a really good position.
Your front row drivers, Christian Rasmussen, Nolan Siegel, both driving for HMD Motorsports. Guys?
Both off to pretty solid starts this season. Rasmussen finished fourth at St. Pete, Siegel the runner-up, so they are very much... It's, yes, early days, round 2 of 14, but you're always thinking championship when there is a scholarship in play. Well, let's take a look at this facility in central Alabama. Depending on how it's numbered, Charlie, usually we come up with 17 turns.
That's mostly how it's done around here. You know, it really talks. We talked earlier about the racetrack and how challenging it is. Turn 1 can be so fast. Turn 2, leading up to the best overtaking opportunity, this hairpin in Turn 5. Charlotte's Web, the big iron spider on the outside. Heavy braking, Turn 8, 9, 10, just outside our vantage point here by the museum. Really challenging. Lots of curb jumping, lots of hopping. And then this Turn 12, 13 section. Very high commitment, very fast for these young drivers. Coming out of 13 over the crest into that last 2 corners, really challenging. But when you get it all together, man, does it feel good, but it feels like a roller coaster. This elevation, massive shifts up to 60 feet top to bottom, and you feel it all the way through the lap.
Cars are lined up on the front of the grid. We're ready to go racing in just a little bit. Big day here at Barber Motorsports Park. Don't forget, right here on Peacock and on NBC, 3 o'clock Eastern Time airtime, 3:30 green flag for the NTT IndyCar Series, with a lot of storylines and drama in that one and multiple strategies in play. You know, one strategy for this one, the Firestone tire is new. First road course of the season, you got to make it last. It is a longer stint than the IndyCar drivers need to do on their Firestones.
Absolutely, and these Firestone tires played really well with us at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, the first race of the year. It'll be interesting to see how the wear develops over the course of this race. And some of these drivers may think they can go hard the whole time. Some may have a setup they need to take care of those tires so that at the end of the race they've got something to play with, especially if there's a yellow and a restart towards the end of the race. They really want to have some extra grip and extra rubber in their back pocket.
And we did have rain overnight, so it is a more green racetrack, but there have already been cars on track, including the IndyCar warm-up, just finished. So the track should be in good shape. And one advantage of Firestone being the tire provider for Indy NXT is that this is going to improve the track conditions and put more rubber down with the similar type of rubber for IndyCar coming up a little later on this afternoon. Well, as you see, drivers are strapped in, and they're about ready to get some very important words and directions.
Here to give the command to start the engines for the Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix of Alabama, Children's of Alabama crew chief.
Racers, start your engines.
Fire it up.
Pace car rolling away, field rolling away, and it is just about time to go racing from Barber Motorsports Park in the second round of the 2023 Indy NXT by Firestone Championship. We heard from the front row from the same team. They have won the last 3 races here at HMD. They will be strong. Road number 2, Louis Foster, who won the pole but finished 14th at St. Petersburg, trying to make up some points. And Hunter McElroy, one of the championship favorites coming in, he recovered to finish 5th at St. Pete.
And on row 3, Toby Sowery returning to the Indy NXT Series, filling in this weekend. Kiffin Simpson on the outside of row 3, the Chip Ganassi Racing development driver as well.
Row 4, Reese Gold won here in Indy Pro 2000, now USF Pro 2000 last year. And Daniel Frost won the opener. He's the championship leader, finished 4th last year.
And Ahmed inside of row 5 looking for some redemption after contact put him out at St. Pete. And James Rowe outside of row 5, top 10 looking for a podium.
In row number 6, Josh Green in the Imperium car, one of the 9 rookies. And Matteo Nannini, who has won in FIA F3.
Inside of row 7, Jagger Jones in the Cape Motorsports. Iconic paint job on that number 98 car. Outside of row 7, Colin Kaminsky coming back for Able Motorsports.
Row number 8 sees Jacob Abel in the Able construction car, who finished on the podium at St. Petersburg. And Christian Vogel in the Pelican Energy car, his best finish last season, 4th in the series.
Inside of row 9, Jamie Chadwick, the young female driver from England, in that Andretti Autosport, number 28, the bright yellow DHL colors. Outside of row 9, Ernie Francis Jr. running with HMD in partnership with Force Indy. That same iconic paint job as last year.
And unfortunately, Rasmus Lind is not here. Some funding issues, but they are anxiously and working hard to try to get him back on the grid in the very near future. All right, let's learn more. Let's check in again with Georgia.
Well, you take a look at the 51 piloted by Jacob Abel, a 3rd in St. Petersburg for him, which is a career best, but he's going to start a little bit deeper in the field this weekend in 15th. But it was recently announced that Able Motorsports confirmed their 2023 Indianapolis 500 entry with R.C. Enerson to drive the number 50 Chevrolet. I caught up with John Brunner, team manager, earlier today, and he told me they're building for this opportunity and bringing a whole new set of personnel in dedicated to executing the operation. And fun fact, everyone brought on for this project has actually participated in at least one Indianapolis 500 before. So exciting stuff in the works for Able Motorsports.
Really excited for Bill Abel and the program to get a chance to run in the greatest race in the world, build for the future, and still very, very focused on Indy NXT by Firestone. Time for Kimball's Keys. Charlie.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a reset for these drivers. It's been 6 weeks since St. Pete. A lot of them have gone testing. A lot of them have changed their mindset, thinking about the championship. Last year's race winner here went on to win the championship. You know, turn 5, I talked about how tight it is, how challenging the overtaking can be around this place. But on the start, with a tight field and a lot more cars than years past, it's going to be really interesting, especially on lap 1. we had 15 cars within a second. Indy NXT, the level of competition, just like IndyCar, higher than we've ever seen. Looks like they're pairing up. We're getting ready to go green. It's going to be one heck of a motor race around Barber Motorsports Park today.
And with the Firestones, they crushed the track record, more than half of the field better than it. Rasmussen was 7 or 8 tenths better than the previous track record. HMD controlling things at the front. You've got Andretti cars in the second row, ready to go racing from Barber Motorsports Park. Let's go, Indy NXT by Firestone. And round 2, the black car of Rasmussen getting the early jump. Siegel, green and black right behind. Foster comes through in third, a little lockup. They all get through the first corner safely.
And this is where it's really interesting, setting up the exit of turn 2 all the way down to turn 5. Your best passing opportunity, heavy on the brakes, squirrely over that crest in turn 4 for these guys.
Look at Toby Sowery, that white and green car. Hasn't done one of these races in a year and a half. He is trying to make up some spots. He's going to get a position in 5.
And despite going 3 wide, lots of respect, lots of room for each other. Gets really tight trying to go 2 wide for Jagger Jones there in turn 8.
Kiffin Simpson is able to hang on after going hard over the curbs, but everyone keeps it straight and in line, and they head down the backstretch.
Kiffin Simpson on Toby Sowery into turn 12. That is a bold pass. Toby Sowery has been out of a race car for quite a few weeks. Said he had to knock the rust off, but was pretty quick in practice on Friday.
He made his debut here at USF 2000 back in 2017. Toby Sowery won the first race for HMD in 2019 in this series, was mostly full-time in 21, stepped out of the car, didn't race much last year. He did a radical race and won last fall, but that's it in almost a year and a half. And for him to qualify the upper half of this talented grid is really impressive. That's why people think so highly of Toby Sowery, the 26-year-old from England.
Kiffin Simpson with the late dive on Hunter McElroy. Contact, spinning the 27 Andretti Autosport car of Hunter McElroy. Kiffin Simpson threw the late lunge in there. We'll see if that engine... Hunter McElroy trying to get that car rolling again, trying to figure out how to get the car fired up and back on track.
Oh boy, one of the championship favorites who had to come after a rough start to St. Petersburg in qualifying to get going, and did salvage a 5th, and today he's going all the way to the back. And let's see this again. Kiffin Simpson versus Hunter McElroy. Simpson with the late dive there in 5.
And he shows up to the corner late. He's trying to back out. I think just doesn't get it done. Right front to left rear. Contact, spins Hunter around. And then the little extra banging on each other.
So those are 2 contenders.
Race controls looking at that. The 27 car definitely has some damage. The right rear looks either flat or he's got bent suspension on the left rear. You can see what should be a flat line. So we see on the picture-in-picture here, Jamie Chadwick in pit lane with a mechanical issue as well right from the start. But that straight line at the back of the car is bent up in a bit of a pyramid. That's Hunter McElroy's opportunity for a good result going out the window.
And let's find out what happened to the DHL car of Jamie Chadwick. At the start, look near the back of the field in that bright yellow car. Let's see if we see anything. She started in 17th. 3 wide there. That was Ernie Francis in the middle, so good guess that that's what happened. That's Christian Bogle rolling through the grass, who came back on, made it 3 wide. Bogle, Francis, Chadwick, right rear to left front from Francis, who got up in the air a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on Ernie Francis Jr.'s car. And then damage on Jamie Chadwick. What do you know, Georgia?
Well, 2 Andretti Autosport cars on pit lane right now. That's of Jamie Chadwick and Hunter McElroy. Right now, a right front toe link being changed on the 28 of Chadwick, and they're assessing the damage to Hunter McElroy's car at the moment. I will get the information on that and report back.
What a shame for Jamie Chadwick. She just needs laps at this point. Finished 13th at St. Petersburg, and she said afterwards, it's the first time I've crashed 2 times in a race, finished last among those still in the race, and sort of be happy about it. She realizes it's going to be a tough year, it's still achievable, but this is definitely a process. So that's why they will get her fixed up. Even if she's 3 laps down, it will be beneficial to run laps.
The experience will be really helpful as we see Christian Rasmussen stretching his lead out. That it is hard to pass around here at Barber Motorsports Park, and Christian Rasmussen knows he has a fast car, knows he has the experience, knows he maybe didn't get the result he wanted at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. So he's just going to be thinking about running clean laps, keeping some tire and grip in his back pocket in case it goes yellow and he has to absorb some pressure on a restart from Nolan Siegel, Louis Foster. But at the same time, he's running fast laps. He has the fastest lap of the race, 2/10 over everyone else, and he's just looking to put some daylight between him and the rest of the field.
Let's check in again on the situation with Hunter McElroy. Georgia, what do you know?
Yeah, Hunter McElroy in pit road as well. That's a combination A-arm toe link on the left rear of McElroy's machine. Jamie Chadwick still in pit lane as well, though they are wrapping up work on that car as well. More damage on McElroy, but toe links for both McElroy and Chadwick.
That's hard. It takes, as a driver, it's so frustrating when you're sitting in pit lane and you know every time cars go by you're getting further and further and further behind, and you just have to reset and refocus and try and learn as much as you can. Kiffin Simpson in pit lane as well. Obviously some damage from that contact with Hunter McElroy. We're still waiting for race control to make a ruling on that incident that was under review.
Yep, that's the Ernie Francis Jr., Jamie Chadwick contact being reviewed from the start of this race. You know, and what makes any kind of a DNF or finishing in the back even more damaging for the championship is there's not 10, 11, 12 cars at this point. 18, 19 cars. That may determine the champion. Just who can avoid the awful day, who can get a few podiums and then generally finish in the top 8 every weekend.
And you see it in IndyCar. Drivers win more races than anyone else, but aren't the champion because they're not as consistent. And especially here with a much larger car count than we've had in years past. As a driver, you've got to reset your mindset a little bit and think about how to get the consistent result. Maybe not the exceptional result, but take what could have been a terrible day and make it not so bad.
So let's continue to diagnose this incident with Kiffin Simpson and Hunter McElroy and listen into some 27 radio.
That was completely not my fault, right? Yeah, it didn't look like it to me there, mate. We're just trying to figure out how we're going to go forward here.
That's Hunter McElroy talking to his race engineer, Matt, and talking, you know, again, as a driver, you think, oh, I've had contact. I'm a championship contender. I really want a good result. Oh, man, was that my fault? And rightly or wrongly, the engineer's always going to tell you, oh, not your fault.
That's what I was going to say. Do they ever tell you the truth?
It's not your problem. You know, most of the time, if it is your fault, they'll say,
focus forward.
We'll look at it after the race. Let's get back into this, figure out what we can get out of it. So most of the time, the engineers will say, oh, definitely not your fault. No problem at all. Don't worry about it. And as a driver, you really know that. And the fact that Hunter asked is... it's hard because Kiffin Simpson was definitely late to the party in turn 5 there, but was further alongside Hunter. Maybe Hunter could have given him a little more room, and it looked like Kiffin was trying to back out of that maneuver.
Yeah, from his perspective, you're thinking, I got to go now. Is that not the best time to pass early? And then maybe the next chance is late if somebody's tires have fallen off.
100% you're thinking the first 2 or 3 laps into turn 5, the field is pretty packed up. No one really knows what they've got in their car. And if you can trust it and have the confidence to send it up the inside, get that positioning on the car in front of you, then that's the best chance. But if it's not there, you have to know you can back out all the way. Louis Foster looking really racy here on Nolan Siegel. We've got a great view of the onboard there. Just tracking him, figuring out where his weakness is. I wouldn't be surprised if Louis Foster tries to use the push to pass here and get a run out of turn 3, headed down to the heavy brake zone in turn 5 for a pass.
Let's keep an eye on this. A run for Louis Foster on his onboard, the reigning champion in Indy Pro 2000, now USF Pro 2000. Not close enough this time to get a move for second. Meanwhile, race control has looked at that contact between Simpson and McElroy, and they have put the blame on Kiffin Simpson. He's being penalized for avoidable contact. Penalty is TBD because he is parked in the pitch right now.
He's still in pit lane, and a lot of times what race control means, penalties to be determined, if Kiffin Simpson doesn't get back on the racetrack, and Hunter McElroy has just left pit lane to get back on the racetrack, so if Kiffin Simpson doesn't get back out, he's serving his own penalty, right? The damage from the contact is his own penalty. They want to make sure that, barring any other incidents, Kiffin Simpson finishes behind Hunter McElroy.
And as of now, he is behind him. Good look at Toby Sowery's car. And he had a little excursion just a moment ago.
Whoa,
that's more than a little.
That's a
big save.
Big ride. Gives up a couple of spots, but manages to salvage the rest of his day. You can imagine his heart rate climbed quite a bit. Coming over that crest, you're in the top of 4th gear, bottom of 5th gear, your foot's buried, and you come over that crest, the car gets light, and you exit stage left onto the grass. It gets real exciting really quickly.
And here's a look when we'll see, at least guaranteed to see, Toby Sowery. Support from M-Start, Kumpf, and Defy, which is a management company, and there's a sports charity foundation involved. He's filling in for Josh Pearson. That's his seat. But Josh has conflicts with the World Endurance Championship. By the way, he was part of a team that finished second over the weekend at Spa with some pretty notable teammates. And we'll see Josh back at Indianapolis. But those are the guaranteed. Detroit, doubleheader there, and then at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Now, Toby is still trying to find more opportunities. There are extra cars available. HMD started with 9, running 8 this weekend. I suspect they could run 10 if they really wanted to. Funding allowed, we'll see more of him this year.
A lot of personnel, and we are hearing from race control the incident between Jamie Chadwick, Ernie Francis Jr., and in an ancillary role, Christian Bogle from the start. They've reviewed it, no action taken, kind of a racing incident. I get that, it's the start, people trip over each other. It happens that way.
Yeah, tough to penalize someone in the middle of 3 wide in that situation, and Christian was just trying to regather after going off the track, so unfortunate for all. But Jamie is back on track and getting an opportunity to get some laps in today.
And I've been really impressed. I've been looking at the timing and scoring screens, really impressed with Christian Rasmussen's lap times up front. He is running a very consistent 73.0 second lap after lap after lap. He wasn't the quickest car on track last time. Toby Sowery, as he comes back from that off through turn 13, was the quickest at a 72.6. So like 0.4 of a second, which isn't nothing. But Christian's just knocking the laps, setting them up, knocking them down, setting them up, knocking them down, so that he knows exactly what he has. He's managing that 2.5 second gap back to Nolan Siegel, making sure he's taking care of the tires, taking care of the car. Because again, it's the first road course race distance on these Firestone tires. No one's really sure how they're gonna last. Christian has everything in hand to make sure that if they don't quite last, he has the gap and he's taking care of the tires.
Certainly when it comes to racing at this beautiful facility, HMD has it figured out. A lot of off-season testing. They've won the last 3 races. And the driver who won 2 of those is downstairs with Georgia.
Absolutely. Your 2022 Indy NXT champion, that is of Linus Lundqvist, being a driver coach mentor this weekend with HMD Motorsports, helping the team out. But first, Linus, could you take us on a lap through the eyes of the driver at Barber Motorsports Park?
I mean, a lap around this place is like no other, I'd like to say. It's probably the favorite track of the calendar, in my opinion. You know, it's pretty fast in these Indy NXT cars, and, you know, in the Indy cars it's even faster, but it's such a roller coaster, and it's great for qualifying, and I think we get to see a bit of that in the race now, where it's so difficult to overtake. But we'll see. I think it's interesting to see how these new tires with the Firestone, see how the drop-off will be. I don't think we've had a real showing of it. St. Pete was obviously very different, so we'll see how it goes now in a couple of laps.
What's some of the advice that you've been giving some of the HMD drivers?
Drive faster, you know, brake later, have higher minimum speed, be earlier on power, you know, the basic stuff.
Yeah, drive faster, simple enough.
Exactly. So, no, but they've been doing a good job. Obviously 1-2 now in the race. Unfortunate what happened with Kiffin there as well with the incident. So, you know, hopefully they can string together a good result here. But yeah, I'm kind of keen to see what's going to happen with these tires now.
Well, he's visited Victory Lane 2 times here at Barber Motorsports Park. That is Linus Lundqvist, guys.
And he got another recent chance to drive an Indy car at Texas Motor Speedway with Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan. All reports are it was very good, provided good feedback. So he's kind of crossed off that, and you know, he would be available if someone has a need at Indianapolis or later on in the season. So hopefully we see Linus Lundqvist get a chance.
I talked to him about that test, and his grin could not have been bigger. And he said it was so much fun. It was fast, and he just wanted more of it.
Christian Rasmussen is rolling through this one so far. He has started from the point, maintain and continue to expand the gap on Nolan Siegel. There he is in that green and black car. Foster running in third. Daniel Frost came in as the championship leader. He's running in fourth after winning the opener at St. Pete. There he is in the Denjet car, orange and white. Good run so far behind in that white and pink Imperium car for Josh Green. He is a very, very young driver who has a lot of experience on the path to IndyCar. Finished 6th in the championship last year with Turn 3 Motorsports, won at St. Petersburg, did a couple of years in USF 2000, had a win at Mid-Ohio, but he is still just 20 years old and a college student taking online classes at Arizona State, working on an engineering degree. Further back, we've seen Toby Sowery in that green and white car. Let's speak on James Rowe, running in 7th, starting 10th. Really strong run. Where he's at right now would match his best finish after a mostly full rookie season last year. He was happy with that qualifying effort of 10th today. And the Andretti Autosport driver from Ireland in the Topcon positioning systems and strong roots car is having a good one so far today in 7th. Oh, and we've got problems. The 75 car of Matteo Nannini and Jacob Abel in the 51 have gone around with pretty significant contact, full course caution.
That's coming out of the last corner. I don't know if somebody went off and then got collected. It's almost like Nannini was trying to pass Abel. Yeah, Jacob showing his displeasure at the situation.
It just basically, what was that was the question. Yeah, Abel was in front.
And so just before this was happening, Reese Gold in the other Junkos Hollinger car had a mechanical issue. Let's see, when we get our replay here, what actually happened. Because that's a strange place to have a multi-car incident. Unless Matteo Nannini was thinking he could sneak a pass into turn 17. They're side by side through 16. Tries to hold on.
I would say Jacob Abel has a reason to question that, right? They're side by side, and he's as far right on the track as you can go.
I think Nannini needed to give him more room.
He didn't want me to stay there, so he just decided to turn across me.
Yeah, I would agree that Jacob Abel has reason to foul there.
Now, the other argument of that would be when you are on the outside exiting a corner, you do so at your own risk.
However, Nannini starts giving Abel room, but is pointed to the normal racing line. And like the replay we had looking down the front straight, this view here, he starts there, and then he just opens his hand and drives across. Now, it is front wheel to rear wheel. I'm glad I'm not in the steward's office to make this call, Kevin. That's a really challenging call to make.
It's a game of inches. If Nannini is maybe 3 inches to his left, they may get through there okay.
And if Jacob Abel cracks the throttle and lives to fight for another lap, as well.
So unfortunately, it's going to end early. Nannini finished 15th at St. Petersburg, is going to be in the back this time. And for Abel, who was on the podium, does not go well in round 2. Let's check in with Georgia.
Ricardo Juncos with me now. And Ricardo, now that you watched the replay, what did you see with the incident with Matteo?
I don't know. He's coming out way inside of the line, and maybe he didn't know the guy was on the outside, to be honest. I need to talk to him. At the same time, also, we have an issue with Reese Gold, so everything happened so quickly with both cars. So I don't know. I need to see what happened from the inboard, and then talking to him, I will see him later.
Reese Gold also on pit lane. Do you have an idea of what happened there?
I don't know. We have engine limiter issues on the either ignition cut, or we have an issue with the something on the car. We are checking right now what's the deal, because we don't know yet. So.
Thank you, Ricardo.
And this is why Andretti Autosport changed the tow link on Jamie Chadwick's car and fixed the damage to Hunter McElroy's car, because those two cars, Reese Gold with issues, as they cycle around, they will pick up those 2 or 3 spots and move up towards the 13th position on track.
We saw the conversation between Nannini and Abel, who may not agree on who is to blame for that. And there's Reese Gold, who didn't get off to a great start in practice on Friday, but recovered nicely yesterday and had a really solid qualifying effort, I think, in 7th, and just his second start, 1 step away from IndyCar. He was the runner-up last year in the championship with 4 wins for Juncos. Here it is one more time.
It's like he expected Jacob Abel to have been clear and not have stayed as close around the outside of the corner. And you see he's just sort of tracking over, and Abel's out of room. Like I said, I'm glad I'm not in the steward's room for that.
But it's a fine line. You're trying to give him racing room if you're the overtaking car, but you want to give him as little as possible. You want to encourage him to lift and make sure he does not get a good runoff. And if you do have to stay side by side, you've got the better path going into turn 1, and hopefully can clear him then.
And that's the thing, I think, with these young drivers, the racecraft is still developing, especially as these cars get bigger, get faster, get heavier. The racecraft changes as those things factor into the physics of an overtake, like you talk about. Being able to get inside, stay inside, and then squeeze, but not lead to an incident. You talk about a game of inches. It's smaller than that because the line is so fine between clearing the overtake, the 51 car lifting, and the pass staying like it is. Nannini running, giving him enough room and running him all the way down to turn 1, getting the pass done through turn 1. It really is a hard situation, and I think they will both learn from it. It will set their path for the future.
No action taken on that contact, which makes a lot of sense since we've been going back and forth on, all right, because my opinion is when you call a penalty on someone, it needs to be fairly obvious, not a 60-40, 70-30. It needs to be pretty high in the responsibility measure.
And from a driver's point, the aggrieved driver always thinks it should be a penalty, and the aggressor never thinks it should be a penalty. And from my side, I think 70-30 responsibility is almost penalty worthy. But in this case, who are you going to penalize? They're both out of the race. They're both serving their own penalty. You know, maybe you bring them up to the steward's office, go see our race director and our stewards, Ari Leyendyke, who has a lot of experience in these cars, Max Pappas, who has a lot of experience in these cars. Sit them down, and it's a teaching moment for this development series for these drivers.
Well, we're going to hit the halfway point under caution, and certainly Abel and Nannini were not pleased with that caution. The other most displeased with it would be Christian Rasmussen, who had things in control. So what's the thinking of those second and third with another opportunity?
You know, I think when you're in second and third like that, you know Christian Rasmussen had this race totally in hand, completely controlled. So they know the restart is their best shot. Nolan Siegel's thinking, this is my best shot at getting to the front. He's got Louis Foster who's breathing down his neck as well, so he doesn't want to do an all or nothing attempt at a pass on that 6 car in front of him. But at the same time, he knows this is his best shot. And I talked about Rasmussen controlling the race, controlling his tires, managing it as and understanding that if it goes yellow, he has to have a good, clean restart.
All right, we heard the Juncos perspective. Let's get the Abel Motorsports perspective now.
John Brunner, team manager of Abel Motorsports. And John, what do you believe transpired with the incident between Jacob Abel and Matteo Nannini?
Well, watching the replay, I mean, it looked like Jacob was clearly beside him at a minimum. I think maybe the car didn't know he was out there. I'm not sure. I mean, he should have known he was right there, and we ran out of track. You know, he just took us right to the grass.
Thank you, John.
Well, it's been an exciting stretch for this team, finishing on the podium at St. Petersburg, announcing an Indy 500 program with R.C. Enerson. But the highs and lows of motorsport, and they are experiencing the lows this weekend. Luckily, not as long of a break this time. They'll be back on the road course, just a single race, and I like that, a single race on GMR Grand Prix weekend, and then they will also race on the NASCAR IndyCar doubleheader weekend with IndyCar at Indianapolis in August. So 2 opportunities for Indy NXT by Firestone to race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course this season. We are ready to go green again this time. Still just going through the museum complex at the moment, so still a little bit to get gathered up once again. And past the halfway point, we'll roll with Rasmussen, Siegel, Foster, Frost, and Green, top 5. Sowery, Rowe, Anam Ahmed with a nice strong start to this race, running in 8th. And Jagger Jones, one of the rookies, has moved up to 9th. In that tribute to Old Calhoun back there. The 63 winner of Parnelli Jones, Jagger Jones' grandfather. There it is right there, the total sim car, 98 for Cape Motorsports. His dad PJ ran a similar livery in the 2004 Indianapolis 500. All right, they'll start working back up the pace through turn 17. It's green again. Indy NXT by Firestone. Rasmussen started the race in commanding style. Single file through turn 1. Siegel, Foster, Frost. Little challenge and a look for Toby Sowery in the green and white car on Josh Green. Nothing happening there.
I think Daniel Frost has got a great run out of turn 3. He could be looking to challenge Louis Foster down into turn 5. That heavy braking goes to the outside. Foster trying to hold on to the inside. Daniel Frost with the outside move. They're going to go side by side out of 5. Louis Foster going to be able to make the comeback into turn 8. Daniel Frost defends. It's his right.
Foster will back out. And now
Frost goes off,
loses the position back. Well done by Louis Foster to force the mistake.
And Toby Sowery got clear of Josh Green there and moved up and thinks, well, if these guys come together, I'll be there here to pick up the pieces.
That section is just slightly different this year.
They've added some curb, and how these cars go through it, it's just a little different.
That battle is not done yet, and now it's moved a little further back. Here's a replay looking on the onboard from Louis Foster.
Louis Foster got a decent restart, but Daniel Frost sent it through turn 1. And as he came out of turn 1, got through turn 2, Daniel Frost off the track. Toby Sowery, Josh Green, both going past. Nope, they're going to try and go side by side.
Head down, buddy.
Yep, now it's time to refocus. After you had a mistake, James Rowe is going to look in the outside in the blue Top Con car, lock him up a little bit, try to hang on, can't. And
trying to do the over-under, get a better exit out of turn 5. Daniel Frost trying to hold on the inside. James Rowe gets the move done.
Clear.
Well done by James Rowe.
See if he can gather it up through turn 9. Daniel Frost still thinking about coming back.
What I was saying is that's the hardest thing when a little mistake is happening. How difficult is it to regather yourself when everybody they see blood?
And probably more than sharks, young racing drivers, when there's blood in the water, get really frenzied and are looking for any opportunity, if it exists or not. So a lot of times that's when these incidents, you can see Daniel Frost, that could have been a huge off. He was loose at turn in, the car was trying to rotate on him, gathers it up, only loses the 2 spots, and then James Rowe is able to make the pass around in turn 5 with that over-under. You know, it takes a minute to catch your breath, settle back in, figure out what you've got. If you've been offline, online, you've got to clean those Firestone tires up, get the grip back, get the temperature and the pressures back where you want them as well.
By the way, the penalty on Kiffin Simpson for that early contact with Hunter McElroy, he is back on track now. Simpson is 9 laps down, but he has been given a drive-through penalty for the incident responsibility. All right, here comes Frost. He's regathered. He's going to take a look to the outside. Not close enough to James Rowe this time. And now, apparently Simpson has yet to serve that penalty, so he is being black flagged.
Encouraged from the timing stand, the flag stand, to come through pit lane and serve that penalty.
So Daniel Frost, the winner at St. Pete, which he said gave him a lot of confidence going in. He'd already won before, but still, to start off a season against this really stacked field does a lot for you. He had picked up the position for third. Now he finds Georgia just finds himself just like that back to 7th.
Yeah, just as you said, Daniel Frost, he's been all through this field today, started 8th, up to 4th, back to 7th now, but Daniel Frost has been battling electrical demons all weekend long. You wouldn't know it now, but during qualifying, he told me he had 3 laps to get it right, and 2 of them have been stunted by the ECU off the harness on the 68 was glitching. So he told me that he knows today is going to be a challenge, but you can expect him to be very aggressive, as we've already seen, specifically in turn 5 and turn 17. And he tells me that he believes the beauty with the Indy NXT Series is anything can happen. Again, that's Daniel Frost. He currently runs 7th.
And Georgia is absolutely right. Anything can and has shown to happen so far this year. We've had some great racing with 18 cars in the field here this weekend. You know, it means that little mistakes have bigger consequences. And so as a result, you see these drivers trying to figure out how to consolidate, how to get the best out of a bad situation. You know, Jamie Chadwick, Hunter McElroy, Kiffin Simpson, all had those issues, that contact early on, bent suspension, get it changed, get back on the racetrack. Jamie Chadwick, Hunter McElroy running 13th and 14th. That's better than 16th and 17th by a few points.
Where should I do it?
And this championship,
wherever you feel comfortable,
could come down to those a point or two. And what we're hearing on the radio is, you know, where do I use the overtake? Where do I try and get past him? So, you know, wherever you're comfortable, wherever it's going to work.
do it in a spot that causes him to check up a little, and then you get him right back. He's about 3 back here.
Frost looking to the inside in turn 5 and
clear of James Rowe.
So we are being told by race control, what that communication we were hearing is apparently James Rowe was being told to give up spots for blocking, and that's what he was asking. Where should I do it? What's the best place to do it?
That makes sense. That's why it didn't look like such a late dive into turn 5. Yeah. James Rowe cracked the throttle.
Yeah, I was thinking that looks pretty easy, and it was for a reason. But now James Rowe will go back to work and try to get that position back. So Frost has recovered a bit. As Georgia mentioned, from 8th, he was briefly in 3rd, not officially, but just for just a few moments. Has run in 4th much of the time and now settling in back in 6th, and we know he can be quick. You look behind him, you see James Rowe, and then Anam Ahmed in one of the Cape cars, his teammate Jagger Jones behind him.
And Christian Rasmussen out front is really consolidated again, back to that 2.5 second mark over Nolan Siegel. Nolan about a second ahead of Louis Foster, all running really quick laps. Christian Rasmussen the fastest lap that time by 3/10 over the rest of the field.
And that black and yellow car is Colin Kaminsky, the second car for Able Motorsports. 23-year-old from Joliet, rookie in Indy NXT by Firestone. Has had a lot of experience at USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000. Has finished second, I think, 4 times in that series. And he's having a solid run today, running in the top 10. And this is a time in this series, top 10s are good. Used to be, you know, you would just say that for PR purposes. But no, a top 10 in this series does show that you've got a lot of talent and you've got a good program.
When you've got 18 cars and all of them very competitive, a top 10 is nothing to scoff at. And it's not that he's a top 10 because the other 8 cars have crashed out. He's running ahead of a couple of cars. He's in a train of cars all the way up to 7. You know, with a little opportunity, some chance, maybe some mistakes from Jagger Jones ahead of him, Ahmed, James Rowe. If any of their tires lose grip over the course of the race, Colin Kaminsky will be in a position to take advantage of that opportunity.
So there's Kiffin Simpson, who is out of the car. He has been DQ'd for not following instructions. Did not serve the drive-through. So we'll find out. You know, potentially radio issue would be one possibility. I don't think protesting and saying I refuse is going to go over very well, because they're eventually going to stop scoring you and do everything they can to get you off the track. So we'll wait and learn more on that. Meanwhile, let's check in with Christian Rasmussen. He's back. In fact, even stretched the lead to what it was before that caution. I think it was just shy of 3 seconds. Now it's just beyond 3 seconds.
And Louis Foster is definitely on the hunt of Nolan Siegel. It's down to about 0.7 of a second, and it fluctuates around the racetrack. I don't know if he has the speed differential to make a pass on Nolan, and if maybe he's biding his time and thinking 5 laps to go, he's going to get the pass done. But as he's behind Nolan here, what you're going to want to watch is his hands and how much he's chasing the car. This 8, 9, 10 complex coming up with the museum. Watch how much his hands bounce and his head bounces as he bounces through these curves. Right there, almost, oh, and he goes off. We're going through right through the gravel, into the wall for Louis Foster. The broadcaster's curse strikes again as we go full course yellow.
I'd be curious what he said there. I couldn't hear it.
I think it was "I'm off" or some version of that.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure he didn't say something broke or.
Yeah, to me, it didn't look like something broke. It looked like potentially he got a little closer to Nolan Siegel than he was the lap before. And then when he hit the curb on the left, got on the brakes, was maybe trying to set up for a pass into the second half of the lap, slid off, just put a one left front tire in the grass, and with the rain overnight, everything's a little damp, slid right across, right through the gravel, and right to the Armco.
Louis Foster is someone that came into this season, I think, realistically thinking about a championship with how well he did last year in his first year racing on these tracks, first time in America, and he is going to start the season with no results. He's going to finish 14th, 15th, something like that in this race as you see it again.
Oh, and he
had
had
a similar result at St. Pete.
He had a little bit of a loose moment early. Oh. That skipping across the gravel, especially when you're not slowing down as much as you need to, you know it's not going to end well. And then the thunk at the end just adds insult to injury.
So 14th at St. Pete and maybe 15th in this race here, depending on who can finish. All right, we talked about Kiffin Simpson being DQ'd. Georgia has caught up with the young driver.
And Kiffin Simpson, it looked like when you hopped out of the 21, you were pointing at your ears. Was that radio communication that stunted your knowledge of the disqualification?
Yeah, I wasn't hearing what my engineer Alex was saying, unfortunately. So every time I would go by, I would radio back to him, "What are you saying?" And he couldn't hear me either, so that didn't help things. So yeah, just really unfortunate because this car was really quick today. So yeah, it is what it is, but yeah, bummer.
A devastating finish to Kiffin Simpson, who started his career best of 6 in the Indy NXT Series today.
Good work, Georgia. I'm glad we got to hear from Kiffin's perspective. I suspected there might be a little bit more to it, that he's not just disobeying the command. He didn't get the communication. So Louis Foster, unfortunately, out of the car, and Georgia will find out if there was anything else that led to that. And now Rasmussen will have to fend off another restart. And Toby Sowery, keep an eye on him in third. He has the fastest lap of the race in his first time in these cars since fairly late in the 2021 season. Had done no racing other than Radical cars. Charlie, can you explain better than I would? Radical cars have a lot of downforce. They're fun cars, but it is nowhere close to anything like this.
Light horsepower, good grip, so you're not really having to chase or work the car. The fact that Toby's able to come in, get back in this car, 2 practices, straight into qualifying, and is now running in a podium position, HMD is going to be very happy that he is filling in over the course of the year. And now HMD has the top 5 positions, I believe, on track. We talked about HMD often coming to Barber Motorsports Park to test in the off-season, work on their cars. They've been dominant and competitive here before. So the fact that they are running 1st through 5th is going to make Henry Malukas very happy.
That green and white car running in third right now. We mentioned he's filling in for Josh Pearson this weekend. He has a lot of history with HMD. So the program with HMD in many ways was started to help Henry Malukas' son, David Malukas, as he moved into cars. And as they moved up to this level, there were partnerships with BN Racing, Pelfrey Racing, who's been involved in junior Formula cars for a long time. Eventually, HMD fully took over that program late in 2019. Their driver was Toby Sowery, and it had fully become an HMD operation late in that season at Portland when he got the first win for the program. And they've stayed in touch since then, have been looking at things, and it's always somewhat based on budget. But when they learned that Pearson was not going to be available, HMD reached out. Mike Marini and the group said, hey, we've got an open seat. Do you want to try to put something together? And that's how it got started. And that's a good open seat to be interested in. There are some seats that you work, it's easier to raise budget for, right, than other seats.
Well, when the team has won the championship the year before, and you're coming in with a lot of teammates to get data from and look at, and an operation that's obviously growing based on its success, like you said, it's a little easier to find the funding for. It's a little easier to work that little bit harder to get yourself into that seat.
All right, I thought maybe while we were interrupting and talking over Louis Foster, I wondered what he said on the radio. Georgia, have you gotten any more intel on that?
I did. I caught up with Andretti Autosport, and they said Louis Foster did come over the radio saying that it was indeed a stuck throttle. They cannot confirm that until they take it back to the garage and assess the situation. But that is what Louis Foster said over the radio. And Charlie, as a driver, how scary can something like this be?
Oh, it's terrifying. You can see he does. He has his hands.
You see pumping the brake.
And he's pumping the brake. He's grabbing downshifts. It's terrifying when the car wants to take off on you. When all you can think is, I need to get out of the throttle so that the engine stops driving. And you can see that right rear is still driving after the contact. So there was some issue there that was either in the mechanics of the pedal itself, but you can see him doing everything he can, trying to grab downshifts, getting on the brakes, even like pumping the throttle to try and get it to release. That's unfortunate for Louis.
Potential podium goes away for the scholarship winner from the USF Pro Championships. So looking at a reset and then a 5-lap, 4-lap or so dash to the finish. And some opportunities for good points days. Still very early in the season. And some having potential best days in the series, like James Rowe, running in 6th. Let's listen to radio in the Top Con 29 car.
We're losing a little bit in the final corner at turns 8 and 9. When they go green, use your push to pass for the stars. Copy that.
He was a winner at the level before in Mid-Ohio a couple of years ago. Finished 7th 2 times last year in his rookie season.
And his engineer Len there talking about using the push to pass on the start. Now the push to pass system is literally a button on the steering wheel that these drivers can use as they're going red to clean up this incident. So they're going to a red flag to try and get some sort of a restart. It's taking a little longer to get Louis Foster's damaged car out of the way. They will bring all the cars to pit lane. They will stop, and then...
Oh, the tow truck is stuck.
Oh, is that the problem?
I just saw wheels spinning on the back of the tow truck.
With all the rain overnight, there's been a little bit of extra mud, and so that's going to slow things down. Literally stuck in the mud. So we will bring all the cars to pit lane. They will clean up the tow truck and Louis Foster's car and get ready to reset. Hopefully, as far as the clock for the rest of the race, we have the opportunity to get a 3, 4, maybe 5-lap shootout to the end of the race here. But I was talking about that push-to-pass system. It's a button on the dash that gives these drivers an extra 50 horsepower or so. Now you think, why wouldn't you just leave that on all the time? It's limited by rules to about 150 seconds over the course of the race. So if you have any left at the end of the race, you can use it to try and make that pass. You can also use it to defend as needed.
So while we wait for the cleanup and the restart and the finish to this one, let's look ahead at what else we got going. Hey, you know what day tomorrow is? It's May.
It's May.
And we're headed to Indianapolis for the road course for Indy NXT by Firestone, the GMR Grand Prix NTT IndyCar Series race, weekend of May 12th and 13th. Some time off for this series. Double header, the streets of Detroit. I cannot wait to see what this new track, this is a new event. It's no longer on Belle Isle, it is downtown. Similar layout to what Formula One was back in the day.
Very, very similar, in the shadow of the GM Ren Center there, right by the river, right by downtown. I think everyone's excited about staying downtown and enjoying a revitalized Detroit for that. Going out of that into one of the most iconic permanent road courses with Road America, 2 iconic road courses back-to-back, Road America, Mid-Ohio on July 4th weekend. And then these drivers' first experience on ovals with these Firestone tires, the Indy NXT, Iowa Speedway, before Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway later in the year as well.
And by the way, when I say similar at Detroit to Formula One, I mean similar in the fact it's not on the island. It's downtown. The layout is still very different, and there's a split pit lane for IndyCar and a lot of things going on. And the opportunity for fans, a lot of them, to be able to see the race for free. You should look into that. Georgia, what do you have?
Well, as cars make their way to pit lane, Jacob Abel is back on pit lane. And Jacob, can we get your perspective on the contact between yourself and Matteo Nannini?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I saw Enam was slowing down a little bit, and I saw it as an opportunity to kind of mount of charge. Started using a lot of push to pass and had a run and got him into the second to last corner there, got up alongside him and gave him enough room on the exit to stay there. And I expected, him to give me the same room through the last corner, and he did for a little bit. And then I got on the push to pass again, and then he just kind of turned straight across my nose. So I don't really know what else I could have done there. I was just trying to be aggressive. I mean, we had a pretty miserable qualifying, so we knew we had a lot of work to do. So we were trying to, be as aggressive as possible.
I know you guys have exchanged words, and there have been conversations. What did those look like?
Yeah, I always try and give him the benefit of the doubt. If he didn't mean to do it, I'd love to, talk to him driver to driver. We're all mature here. But, yeah, he basically thought it was all my fault. So it was pretty interesting there, and I kind of asked him what he'd raced before this and kind of what his experience is, because I'd never talked to the guy before. And, he said he's more experienced than any driver in the field. So, pretty interesting there and a little embarrassing.
Well, let's flip the script a little bit. It was just announced with Able Motorsports in their 2023 entry to the Indianapolis 500. So what has this experience been like for you, and how neat is it for you for Able Motorsports to expand to that?
Yeah, it's been a really cool opportunity for the team and, me as a driver, just to kind of see, what it takes to really make that happen. Kind of seeing all the behind the scenes and, what it takes to build a crew, build a car, and all that's really cool. It's kind of given me a whole new respect for everything that the teams do to get there. And, yeah, hopefully we'll make the race.
That is Jacob Abel. Guys.
And R.C. Enerson will be driving that number 50 car at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Last time 50 was entered would have been your teammate, I think, at the time. Dario Franchitti won.
That's right. It was
in 2012.
Target's 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, let's, while we have a moment, let's check in to see one of the questions we had. Firestones in this series on this track for the first time. Certainly Firestone knows the track in IndyCar, but this is all new. It's slightly different at this level. Let's hear what Daniel Frost was saying on the radio.
Basically, the only car that's done a quicker time than us is Toby.
Yeah, the car is fast, man. My tires have.
Yep, your tires look fantastic right now. Fantastic.
So a lot of confidence from his engineer as well. And again, it's one of those things, even if the tires didn't look fantastic, you're probably telling your driver, hey, it looks great, you're the fastest car out there, don't worry about it.
Technically, he's the 5th fastest car, but that's close.
So it's all a little bit of filtered information to drivers, because you give your drivers what they need, not necessarily the truth, if those line up a little differently.
Now, what is more accurate and where it could be true, I just have the fastest laps of the race. The last few laps, he might have been the fastest car on the track, which is more relevant than what you did on lap 5 by a lot.
Very true, and it looks like Matteo Nannini's car has come back to pit lane and they're strapping him in. The damage not as bad as they thought it was. So they will get him out and continuing to cycle around.
And he cannot pick up any positions. So this would just simply be learning, because he is 12 laps behind Louis Foster. So he will not pick up any spots. He's going to finish 15th. Foster is going to finish 14th.
And it's a chance for Matteo to gain some experience in these Indy NXT cars. And I'm really interested in what race control is going to do here, because there is an IndyCar race coming up this afternoon.
Yes, indeed. In fact, we are an hour and 10 minutes away from airtime for that, but there's nothing in between. All right, this is what's at play for Indy NXT by Firestone and the prize structure. When you include the incentives and testing and other things involved, you're talking $1.4 million in total prizes. The $850K includes some testing opportunities. The teams can be rewarded for success. There's more incentive to place successful drivers in your car. And you've got bonus money for podium finishes as well. There's Reese Gold's car being pushed back, so at almost the exact same time as we saw now Nannini as he climbed out. The exact same time we saw the issue and the contact between Abel and Nannini, we had the report of Reese Gold with mechanical issues, and unfortunately they have headed back to the paddock, and it looks like maybe they have aborted the possibility of Nannini getting back into the car, and that might be after they looked at the math and said, you know what, all we could do is cause more crash damage. Unless the car is pristine, your driver is not going to learn anything.
Correct. And with how little time and laps are left in this race, you know, after an incident like that, unless it's to go clear your driver's head, I think you've got to be thinking, just put it on the truck, clean it, get home, get ready to go racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course in a couple weeks.
We should go green within the next 3 to 4 minutes or so, or at least, not sure if that's a green call or just rolling off pit lane, because those are two different numbers.
And we got a good view of the tow truck towing the tow truck out of the mud with Louis Foster's car attached on the back. So they are cleaning up. There's still some mud at the edge of the racetrack that they will be cleaning up and making sure that the AMR IndyCar safety team does a great job dealing with incidents. First and foremost is safety of drivers, crew, and they will make sure the racetrack's ready to go. And I think Georgia caught up with that gentleman we were just speaking about, Matteo Nannini.
Well, it looked like Matteo Nannini was going to make it back out and rejoin the field. He has since gotten out of his car. Matteo, we got Jacob Abel's perspective on the incident, but can you add any insight in your perspective as well?
I don't want to say anything wrong. I first want to review it with my team. Just frustrating anyway to lose races this way, like for some pit, for someone else's fault, or like misunderstanding from me and other drivers. So hopefully our bad luck can end now and forever, and we can come back stronger for Indy.
Thank you for the insight, Matteo.
And Jacob Abel was getting some information from the driver directly on his resume. So here's what I know of Matteo Nannini's resume, who Jacob kind of joked that he said he has more experience than anyone else in the field. He does have a lot of experience. He's had a lot of success, 19-year-old from Italy. His father, Eddie, was a Formula One engineer, kind of like your dad, Charlie, and he worked for Minardi and other teams. His uncle, Alessandro Nannini, won a Formula One race, the Japanese Grand Prix, back in 1989. So he's from a racing family. He's won an FIA F3, so you don't win in that series without being legit. So he did that in 2021, has had 8 races in Formula 2, which is a very high level as well. So he definitely does have a resume. But unfortunately did not go well for him today, and the start in Indy Next has produced not the results he was hoping for in the first 2 rounds. All right, we're basically an hour away from airtime today. Still here on Peacock. You can keep it right here and on network television, 3 o'clock Eastern, and a pretty quick start to the race. The command will be just after 3:20 Eastern, 3:30 green flag today. No rain chances here, so while some other motorsports will not be able to go today, we will be green here at Barber Motorsports Park for the NTT IndyCar Series coming up in just a little bit, with so much to play for. And they're firing up the engines again, so that means we are really close. Let's take a peek at the IndyCar Championship standings. The Indy Next Championship standings. And this would be points as they run. Christian Rasmussen, as it stands right now, if he can hold off this win, would take over the championship lead from the opening round winner, Daniel Frost. And Nolan Siegel, a model of consistency so far, in play to have second in both races.
And that has seriously impressed me from Nolan Siegel. He is doing a great job showing a lot of maturity beyond his years, a lot of poise, and we talked about he may not win as many races as someone else this year, but you start the first 2 races finishing second, you're in a really good shot in for the title at the end of the year. And they have restarted these Indy Next engines. We're going to have a little bit of a shootout here at the end. We'll see. Christian Rasmussen has had this race totally in control. He's just, if I'm him, all I'm thinking is do exactly the same thing as I have done all day long, and I'll be fine.
On how much better is he feeling the fact that he's got 2 teammates right behind him? They're not going to give him the win, but they're going to be extra cautious to make sure that one of the HMD cars wins.
And they are talking about going green first time by, so it's going to really matter that these drivers get as much temperature and pressure into those Firestone tires, get those brakes up, so when the green flag flies, they're ready to go racing. And it looks like we've got a small issue. Jagger Jones' Indy Next car did not fire on pit lane.
That's the Cape Motorsports crew coming to his attention, so he is going to go to the back of the line, and they are going green first time by, so there is no time for him to be able to catch up. Oh, you see the anguish there. Jagger is having really strong day. He was running in 8th position, and remember, he made the jump up from USF 2000, so he was one of those also looking to just gain experience, and he was having a good day here. And he is not going to get his position back because there's no chance to catch back up to that position, and really his day is done. He's not going to be able to pass any cars. He's not going to lose any more time. So there's really not a lot of incentive to get out unless he can get out immediately. He is still parked on pit lane while the field is headed down the backstretch towards turn 13, and it looks like that unfortunately may be day done for Jagger Jones. All right, let's focus back up front now and ready for a finish to this one. 5 laps to go. Going green this time. Pace car is speeding away. Rasmussen, Siegel, Sowery from HMD. And Green also from HMD. That's the top 4. Top 5, Frost also. The top non-HMD car is James Rowe in 6th. Green again. Sowery trying to get heat in the tires, running in 3rd. No change up front. They go through single file.
Josh Green had his hands full there. Daniel Frost, we knew how aggressive, we saw how aggressive he was on the last restart. We'll see if he tries to make a move on his teammate down into turn 5. Nose to tail. He's to the inside. He's looking.
Frost in the pink and white car trying to hang around the lawn side. A green, I should say, rather, and then Frost in the orange and white car is not going to get the spot.
And those teammates gave each other just enough room. Came through cleanly. Toby Sowery looking aggressive on Nolan Siegel as well.
Frost still trying. Anam Ahmed back there in the Cape car in 6th, hoping those teammates tangle a little bit, gives him a chance.
And Ahmed gotten past James Rowe in that Andretti car to move up to 6th. A great run for that Cape Motorsports car.
Sowery in the white and green car. already in podium position in his return to Indy Next by Firestone. Looking on Nolan Siegel. Rasmussen has not checked out, but it is comfortable.
Nolan Siegel, the 18-year-old, doing a great job absorbing the pressure of Toby Sowery. I don't know how much push to pass these drivers have left, but you guarantee they're using everything they've got right now. Daniel Frost on Josh Green, Toby Sowery on Nolan Siegel. Toby not close enough, Daniel Frost not close enough either this lap, trying to set it up with 3 laps to go.
And we're inside that 2.5 laps remaining here at this point. By the way, Jagger Jones did not get back out on track. He is still on pit lane or potentially pushed back to the paddock at this point.
Christian Rasmussen doing a great job, got a great restart and has pulled out over a second on his teammate Nolan Siegel, who is dealing with Toby Sowery behind him. Dude, he just did the same thing he's done all day, and he's managing this race to a win, hopefully.
We had a scary moment ago and a report of a stuck throttle. Georgia is with Louis Foster.
Louis Foster, you did come over the radio, say you felt like your throttle was stuck. In that moment, what did you feel?
I mean, obviously going down the hill into 8 and 9 is quite a tricky set of corners. Yeah, it just kind of felt like the car was driving itself down the hill, wasn't able to downshift. And I was kind of a passenger, really. And we'll have a look at see what the data says and see if there's anything we can fix. But yeah, at this point in time, I don't have any information. I can't really say much. So yeah, we'll just go back and try work on it and see what happened.
Thank you, Louis.
Inside 2 remaining. Best battle is still for second. Good battle also further back for 4th between Green and Frost. And then further back in the field, Rowe and Kaminsky for 7th and 8th. This has been a really strong run for Colin Kaminsky. Christian Bogle inside the top 10. So is Ernie Francis Jr., who finished 6th, the career best at St. Pete. And the attrition has helped him move into the top 10. Only 10 on the lead lap.
Nolan Siegel had a little bit of a lockup into turn 2. That last lap, Sowery tried to pounce on it. Nolan Siegel, who's graduating high school, making me feel old next month, doing a great job absorbing that pressure as we get the white flag for Christian Rasmussen one more time around the Alabama roller coaster.
And Rasmussen continues to gap up a 2.5 seconds. Siegel is just trying to hang on to that 2nd spot. Sowery's in position for a podium. How much will he push the issue?
It's the last best chance to pass down here into turn 5. I think Siegel's got the spot at least through turn 5. He's got 12 corners to go to hold on to that 2nd. Daniel Frost still looking to try and find a way past Josh Green for 4th.
And it's not sorted further back either for other positions. Important points paying position, still very early in the season in round 2.
Rasmussen's got this in hand. He's just gonna settle in and bring it home cleanly.
Christian Rasmussen won the first 2 steps of the ladder system to IndyCar in USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, and there is a launch, and Daniel Frost is going to take out Josh Green. 2 teammates come together on the final lap of the race and give up top 5 positions, and that is going to shake up things. Ahmad moves up to 4th, Rowe into the top 5. Meanwhile, out front, Christian Rasmussen wins at Barber Motorsports Park to take over the early championship lead.
Last year, the winner here in Alabama went on to win the Indy Next Championship as Christian Rasmussen, showing himself now as championship leader. Josh Green, that contact, Daniel Frost was all over the back of him for that last lap, did everything he could. Hit the curb, made contact, and it both ends in tears for both of them.
And Green was in position to be up near the front of the championship. Frost was the championship leader coming in. He would have been what he was going to be tied for 2nd, and now that is going to shift just a bit. So let's see this again and what happened between Frost and Green.
Oh, Green sees him coming, gives him room. Daniel Frost kind of out of control there, I have to say. Hits that curb, bounces off, front tires in the air, makes contact with Josh Green.
Well, that's under review. And it will be up to race control after the finish to see what can be done about that. They are going to be scored in 9th and 10th. So potentially you could see a position flip for there.
Not totally surprising for that to be under review. But how about the podium sweep for HMD? They were in line for top 5, but at the checkered, they swept the podium. Christian Rasmussen, 18-year-old Nolan Siegel, and Toby Sowery, who hasn't raced a whole lot of anything in the last year and a half, coming out, 2 practice sessions, qualifying, standing on the podium.
Win number 3 in the series for Christian Rasmussen. He won at Road America and WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca last year on the way to 6th in the championship. Now he leads the championship. Rasmussen, Siegel, 2nd in both races, and what a return for Toby Sowery. Notable for Cape Motorsports in their return after more than a decade away to get a 4th place finish for Anam Ahmed, the young Brit who is also representing the Pakistani flag.
James Rowe Jr. going from seemed like the front to the back and then back to a top 5 result. Colin Kaminsky as well with a great result in 6th. Christian Bogle running a clean, smart race, and Ernie Francis Jr. finishing out the day in 8th.
And I would also say these are provisional points as well, because could change with Daniel Frost and Josh Green pending a review. The story right now, though, is Christian Rasmussen. The goal was championship this year, and right now in the early going, he is the championship leader with a dominant win at Barber Motorsports Park from pole, leading every lap, controlling the race, and a winner again. Indy NXT by Firestone welcomes Christian Rasmussen to victory lane at Barber Motorsports Park.
And for the 3rd time in his Indy NXT career, Christian Rasmussen is a winner. He climbs out of the car. And we're going to talk to the man who was absolutely dominant today. He's going to give congratulations to his team and well-deserved an HMD sweep. 1, 2, 3. This team working ever so hard through St. Pete, and he'll meet me around the front of the car. And Christian, absolutely dominant today. Started on the pole, led every lap. What set you and your team apart today?
I think the HMD boys have just given us an amazing car all weekend. Right from the get-go in first practice, we were on top, and we just continued that the whole weekend. So it was pure HMD domination this weekend, and yeah, I can't thank them enough. I mean, they make me look good out there.
He has taken over the championship lead for the Indy NXT Series. Your winner today at Barber Motorsports Park, that is Christian Rasmussen.
Well done to HMD Motorsports with Dale Coyne Racing. Christian Rasmussen wins. We'll see you at Indy with Indy NXT by Firestone. And stay tuned, IndyCar from Alabama coming up at 3 o'clock Eastern on Peacock and NBC Sports.